I walked into his room at the wrong time. What happened next changed everything. I should have knocked. That's what I kept telling myself as I stood frozen in the doorway, my hand still gripping the handle, my brain trying desperately to process what I was seeing. I definitely, absolutely should have knocked. But Cameron and I had been roommates for 2 years. We developed that easy comfort where boundaries got fuzzy, walking into each other's rooms to borrow chargers, leaving notes on each other's desks, stealing food from each other's shelves. Knocking had become optional somewhere around month 3. Until now. Cameron sat on his bed, laptop open in front of him, his face illuminated by the screen's glow in his dimly lit room. That alone wouldn't have been remarkable. What made my heart stop was what was on that screen and the expression on his face as he watched it, vulnerable and exposed in a way I'd never seen him. And then his eyes met mine. "Oh my God," I stammered, stepping backward. "I'm so sorry, I was just going to ask if you wanted pizza, I didn't mean to." "Wait," his voice was quiet but firm. He closed the laptop with a decisive click. "Just wait, don't go." I froze, one foot in the hallway, one still in his room. My face was burning, his face was burning, the air between us felt charged with something I couldn't name. "Ethan," he said, and there was something in the way he said my name, careful, like he was testing the weight of it. "We should probably talk." "We really don't have to," I said quickly. "I shouldn't have just walked in, that was my fault, I'll just—" "Please," he patted the bed beside him, "sit down." Against my better judgment, against every instinct screaming at me to run, I walked back into the room and sat on the edge of his bed, maintaining what I hoped was a respectful distance. Cameron ran his hand through his dark hair, a nervous gesture I'd seen 1,000 times when he was working up the courage to say something difficult. "How much did you see?" he asked. "Enough to know you were watching, something personal." I stared at my hands. "Look, Cameron, what you watch or do in your private time is none of my business. I'm really sorry I invaded your privacy." "It's not about the video," he said. Then, after a pause, "Okay, it's partly about the video, but mostly it's about what the video says about me, about something I've been trying to figure out how to tell you for months." My stomach flipped. "You don't owe me any explanations." "Maybe not, but I want to give you one anyway." He took a deep breath. "I'm gay, Ethan." The words hung in the air between us. I turned to look at him, really look at him. Cameron, my roommate, my friend. Cameron, who'd been on the college basketball team, who dated Sarah for 6 months sophomore year, who'd helped me through my brutal breakup with Emily. Cameron, who was sitting here now, shoulders tense, waiting for my reaction. "Okay," I said carefully, "thank you for telling me." He let out a breath that seemed to deflate his entire body. "That's it, just okay." "What did you expect me to say?" "I don't know, something more than okay, something less than get out of my apartment, maybe something in the middle." He laughed nervously. "I've been rehearsing this conversation for 6 months. I had like 15 different versions prepared depending on how you reacted." "6 months," I echoed. "You've been worried about telling me for 6 months. Longer, actually, but it got really bad about 6 months ago." He pulled his knees up to his chest, making himself smaller. "Do you remember when you asked me why Sarah and I broke up and I gave you that whole speech about growing apart and wanting different things?" "Yeah." I lied. "The truth is I couldn't keep pretending, couldn't keep being someone I'm not. She knew before I did, actually. She's the one who ended it, said she could tell my heart wasn't in it." He glanced at me. "She was kind about it, told me she hoped I'd figure out who I really was." I processed this, recontextualizing 2 years of friendship through this new lens. Late nights when Cameron would get quiet and distant. The way he'd change the subject whenever I asked if he was interested in anyone. That time I'd suggested we go to a club and he'd made an excuse about being tired. "Why were you scared to tell me?" I asked. "Because you're my best friend, you're the person I live with, the person I see every day, and I've seen how some guys react when they find out their roommate is gay. Like suddenly every interaction has been recontextualized as threatening, like they need to establish distance." His voice got quieter. "I couldn't handle it if you looked at me differently." "Cameron, I know you're not like that. Rationally, I know. You're one of the most open-minded people I know, but fear isn't rational, you know, and I've been so scared of losing you that I just kept quiet, kept pretending, until you walked in and made pretending impossible." The vulnerability in his voice broke something in me. I shifted closer on the bed, closing the distance I'd been maintaining. Hey, look at me. He did, his green eyes reflecting the streetlight coming through the window. Nothing changes, I said firmly. You're still my best friend, you're still the guy who makes terrible jokes at 2 a.m. and leaves dishes in the sink even though we have a dishwasher. You're still Cameron, this doesn't change how I see you. You say that now. I mean it, Cameron, you being gay doesn't change our friendship any more than me being straight does. We're not friends because of our sexualities. We're friends because you're funny and loyal and you introduced me to Korean barbecue and you stayed up with me all night when my mom was in the hospital. I bumped my shoulder against his. You're stuck with me, dude. Coming out doesn't get you out of our lease. He laughed, but it came out watery. When I looked closer, I realized there were tears on his cheeks. Sorry, he said, wiping at them. I've been carrying this for so long, being scared for so long, and you're just okay with it just like that. Just like that, I confirmed. Then, because the moment felt like it needed lightness, though I am going to start knocking, definitely going to start knocking. He laughed for real this time, the tension finally breaking. That would be appreciated. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, then Cameron said, "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Are you actually okay with this, like really okay? Because if you need time to process or if you have questions or if you're secretly freaking out, you can tell me. I'd rather know than have you pretending everything's fine when it's not." I thought about it honestly. Was I surprised? Yes. Did it change how I felt about Cameron? Not even a little. Was I processing? Sure, but uncomfortable, scared, wanting distance. "I'm really okay," I said. "Genuinely, the only thing I'm upset about is that you felt like you couldn't tell me sooner, that you've been carrying this fear around for months when you didn't have to. I'm telling you now." "You are, and I'm glad," I paused. "So, is there anything you want me to know about this part of your life you've been keeping private?" Cameron considered the question. "I've been going to a support group at the LGBT center downtown. That's where I've been on Thursday nights when I said I had pick-up basketball." The basketball thing was a lie. "Yeah, sorry about that," he smiled sheepishly. "The group has been helpful though, talking to other people who are figuring this stuff out. Some of them came out years ago, some are still in the closet. It's nice not feeling alone." "Are you out to anyone else?" "My sister knows and Sarah, obviously, a few people from the group, but that's it. I haven't told my parents yet." His expression darkened. "I'm not sure I'm ready for that conversation." I remembered meeting Cameron's parents during move-in day freshman year. His dad had been friendly but had made several comments about finding Cameron a nice girlfriend at college. His mom had asked if we were meeting any pretty girls. I understood his hesitation. "You tell them when you're ready," I said, "or never if that's what you need. There's no rulebook for this." "Thanks," he paused. "There's something else I should probably tell you actually, since we're doing the whole radical honesty thing now." "Okay. I'm not just gay, I mean I am gay, but I have feelings for someone specific." My heart did something weird in my chest. "Yeah, who?" Cameron looked at me for a long moment and something in his gaze made my breath catch. "Ethan, I." My phone buzzed loudly, breaking the moment. I glanced at it reflexively, a text from my girlfriend Melissa asking where I was. We had dinner plans I'd completely forgotten about. "Shit," I muttered, "I'm supposed to meet Melissa in 20 minutes. The expression on Cameron's face shuddered immediately. "Right, yeah, you should go." "Cameron, what were you going to say?" "Nothing important, we can talk later." He opened his laptop again, not meeting my eyes. "Have fun at dinner." I wanted to press, but I was already late and Melissa had been upset with me lately about exactly this, being flaky, distracted, not prioritizing her. "Okay, but we're continuing this conversation later, yeah." "Sure, later." I left, but something felt unfinished. All through dinner with Melissa, her talking about her day, me nodding along, my mind was back in that apartment in Cameron's room trying to decode what had just happened. He'd been about to tell me something important, something about feelings for someone. Why did that make my stomach twist? It was almost midnight when I got home. The apartment was dark except for the light under Cameron's door. I actually knocked this time, and heard a muffled "come in." Cameron was at his desk working on something on his laptop. He'd changed into sweatpants and an old college t-shirt, his hair messy like he'd been running his hands through it. "Hey," I said, "can we talk?" "Isn't it late? Where's Melissa?" "I dropped her off." "Cameron, what were you going to tell me earlier?" Before my phone went off. He spun his chair to face me, and in the low light from his desk lamp I couldn't quite read his expression. "Does it matter?" "Yes, it matters." "Why?" "Because you're my best friend and clearly something is bothering you, and I want to help." "You can't help with this, Ethan. Try me." He stood up, packing to the window and back. "You really want to know? Fine's the person I have feelings for. It's you. It's been you for over a year now, maybe longer. I don't even know when it started anymore." The words hit me like a physical impact. "What?" "I'm in love with you," Cameron said, and his voice was steady now, resigned. "I've been in love with you while watching you date Melissa, while listening to you talk about your future together, while being your best friend and pretending that was enough." He laughed bitterly. "So there it is, the real reason I was scared to come out to you. Not because I thought you'd be homophobic, because I thought you'd realize how I feel and everything would get weird and I'd lose you completely." I stood there, paralyzed, as 1,000 moments replayed themselves in my head. The way my heart lifted when I came home and saw Cameron's shoes by the door. How dinner with Melissa always felt like an obligation, but hanging out with Cameron never did. The weird jealousy I'd felt last month when Cameron mentioned going on a date with a guy from his support group, a date that I now realized he'd never actually gone on. "Say something," Cameron whispered, "even if it's just to tell me you need me to move out." "I'm not asking you to move out." "Then what are you asking?" "Good question. What was I asking? What did I want?" The smart thing would be to set a boundary to preserve our friendship, to go back to how things were, except things couldn't go back. Not after this. Not after I'd seen the way Cameron looked at me, vulnerable and hopeful and terrified all at once. Not after I'd realized with sudden clarity why my relationship with Melissa always felt like something was missing. "I need to think," I said finally. "This is a lot, Cameron. I need time to process." The hope in his eyes dimmed. "Yeah, of course, take all the time you need." I did think. For 3 days I thought about nothing else. I went through my relationship with Melissa like a checklist, trying to identify what was missing. She was smart, ambitious, attractive. We had fun together. The sex was fine. On paper, we were perfect. But I didn't think about her first thing in the morning. I didn't feel that flutter in my chest when I saw her name on my phone. I didn't structure my day around the possibility of spending time with her. I did all of those things with Cameron. On the 4th day, I broke up with Melissa. She wasn't surprised. "It's your roommate, isn't it?" she asked. "What?" "Cameron, you're in love with him." She said it matter-of-factly, without anger. "I've suspected for a while, the way you talk about him, the way you light up when he's around. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid, but—" "Melissa, I'm sorry." "Don't be, you can't help how you feel." She gave me a sad smile. "For what it's worth, I hope it works out. You two are good together." I found Cameron in his room that evening, reading. He looked up when I knocked, surprise crossing his face when he saw me standing there. "Can we talk?" I asked. "Sure." I sat on his bed, exactly where I'd sat a week ago when everything changed. "I broke up with Melissa." His eyes widened. "What, why?" "Because I realized something. Something I should have realized a long time ago." I took a deep breath. "I walked into your room at the wrong time last week, or maybe it was exactly the right time, because it forced us to have a conversation we needed to have. It forced me to examine feelings I'd been ignoring." "Ethan." "Let me finish. I've spent the last week thinking about why all my relationships feel incomplete, why I'm never quite satisfied, never quite invested enough. And I figured it out. It's because I was always comparing them to what I have with you. The ease, the comfort, the way you make me laugh even on my worst days." I met his eyes. "Cameron, I think I've been in love with you too. I just didn't have the framework to recognize it." Cameron was staring at me like I'd just spoken in a foreign language. "You, what?" "I'm not sure what this makes me. Bi, maybe. I honestly don't know. What I do know is that when I think about my future, you're in it, not as my roommate or my best friend, as something more." "Are you serious right now? Because if this is some kind of pity thing." I kissed him, just leaned forward and pressed my lips to his, cutting off his words. For a second he froze, then his hands came up to cup my face and he was kissing me back, and it felt like everything clicking into place. When we pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. "Okay," Cameron said shakily, "that was right." I finished. "That felt right. What do we do now?" I smiled. I guess we figure it out together, one day at a time. Cameron laughed, the sound bright with relief and joy. You know, everyone's going to say we're the biggest cliché ever, right? Roommates falling in love. Let them, I don't care. I took his hand, threading our fingers together. I walked into your room at the wrong time, and somehow it ended up being the best mistake I ever made. Best mistake, Cameron echoed, squeezing my hand. I like that. We sat there in his room, our room now, really holding hands and planning a future neither of us had expected but both of us wanted. Outside, the city moved on, indifferent to our small revolution. But in here, everything had changed. And this time it had changed for the better.